7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, welcome back to another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. It is NFL Draft Week, and we are very excited because we are degenerates. At least Spike and myself are, and we haven't been able to bet American sports, at least other than futures bets, in a very long time. So I don't know about you, Spike, but I am ready to degen it up this Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly want to throw some money at something because obviously being able to throw money at professional sports is what got us this show.
Well, and your Overwatch parlays are not working out.
That was exactly the point I was going to make, is that my Overwatch and esports parlays have not been doing well. I think there's a League of Legends match or something. I don't even know what League of Legends is. It's not a game I play, and I think I have a bet on it this weekend. I was going to check my phone, but I built my desk too big. I can't actually reach it from where I'm sitting.
Don't worry, it's already an L. So
yeah, that's probably true.
All right, and joining us from 12 Ounce Sports' Talkman Radio, it is John over in New Jersey. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much. We're just hanging out here, just going to my local liquor store because that's the only thing open.
That's pretty much about right. Yeah, walks and liquor store.
That's it. I'll tell you what. If you guys are talking, I mean, you guys are Vegas, so if you guys want to bet on something, I might have a little friendly wager for you.
Ooh, all right. Well, that's what this podcast is all about.
Drafting.
Very, very nice. Yeah, that's what the podcast is all about. Friendly wagers. We've done a lot of our fair share. I think the tab's way up now. Spike, you still got to collect from the Tonys, right?
Yeah. Well, Fake Token owes me at least $20, and I forget what Token Tony owes me at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that season long NFL bet, I had a massive come from behind victory in that one, and that was that was a nice payday because you screwed it up.
I did. I blew it down the stretch. You are correct. Yes, that is correct. So, all right. Well, let's dive in. Like I said, it is NFL draft time, and we are very excited. Like I said, the first thing I really want to talk about, actually, before we get started, let's thank the sponsors. Obviously, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, where we air on 12ouncesports.com, and also Seat Giant promo code 12 Ounce Sports, where you can get your discounted concert, theater, and sporting event tickets when those come back into action. All right, gentlemen, obviously what we're doing here with the Zoom virtual meeting is pretty much what the NFL is about to do here in 2 days. And Spike, there's already been preliminary reports that there have been potential hackers and a lot of technical difficulties in the what would you call them, the rehearsals?
Yeah, I know they're trying to do dry runs of this thing, which kind of makes sense because it's such an unprecedented way that they're trying to do the draft. They want to make sure that there are no bugs. Now, if there are going to be hackers, they're going to be hackers. Obviously, there are people out there that are going to be griefers. There are going to be people that are trying to interfere just because that's what they do. This is their life. This is how they, entertain themselves. So this is what that's their thing is, going in and screwing things up. That I get. Having technical difficulties for a multi-billion-dollar organization like the NFL is inexcusable at this point. The NFL needs to be able to get their act together to be able to put out a product that runs smoothly. And if they can't do it in the weeks that they have had to prepare for this thing, with all of the technology that's already available, it's not like they have to build something from scratch. They just have to partner up with one of these companies that's out there and, just try to figure out the best way to make it work. If they're still having technical difficulties after that, then the NFL has absolutely no excuse for that. They need to get their act together.
John, I mean, no disrespect to any of the general managers, but obviously we know they're, older human beings. How do these guys, adapt to an ever-changing technology? Look, I consider myself still young. I'm in my 30s, and I think technology has passed me by.
Well, you look young. You look great.
Appreciate it.
I'm a little older. I'm in my 40s, and I don't know. I mean, we had a quick conversation. It took me an hour to get my mic set up, so that's
true.
where I'm at. That's where I'm at. But I think you have the chance to see kind of the Laramie Tunsil thing from a few years ago on steroids. Remember 5 minutes before the draft, all the craziness?
Yeah.
This could be that, all juiced up to God knows where. But you're right that they've had all this time to get this ready. So there should be no problem. And it's not like these guys, it's not like they have guys like me or you over there. They have guys who know everything in and out about computers. And if they don't, shame on them. This should go off as smoothly as possible. They should have a plan and then a backup plan and then a backup plan for this to go. I mean, you could do this by text. Come on, give me a break.
And that's where I was going to go with this. I mean, if it all else fails, can we not just text Roger Goodell the picks?
Exactly.
I mean, to me personally, I think the easiest way to do it is set up 32 agents, put them in a stadium, socially distance, get the text from the pick, Commissioner Goodell standing on the 50-yard line with the NFL logo right underneath them, and you broadcast it from there. Once they get the text picks, then the guy goes, "Hey, we're taking Chase Young." I mean, you can't hack that.
Exactly. I'd love to see these. I can't wait to see these interviews after these guys get drafted with their masks on, with gloves on. Is that really the guy who got drafted? I don't know. He's got a mask on.
Yeah, and that's Spike what we talked about. How unfortunate is the fact that it was supposed to be here in Vegas. I mean, I know that I was super excited. And, I mean, they were going to do it over the top, boat ride out to the Bellagio fountains. I mean, think about that. If you were a first-round draft pick, you've gone from boat ride to the Bellagio fountains to in my house with the cameraman maybe filming from the window because he can't come in.
Eating Cheez-Its.
Exactly. It's like Brett Favre all over again and his cut-off Wranglers.
Yeah, this is that would just scream creepy stalker to me if somebody were doing that. But I mean, at this day and age, everybody has an HD camera on their phone or on their laptop or something. So I'm sure somebody out there can film better quality stuff than having to shoot through the window. It's just going to be somebody within the family or somebody with whom they've been quarantined for however long.
Yeah, and nobody's got a haircut. Everybody's gonna look like shit.
That's true. That is very, very true. It's
can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to. I think there's going to be a lot of rough-looking people getting drafted.
Except the quarterback's girlfriends, they're still gonna be hot.
Hair done, nails done, everything.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks, Al Michaels. We appreciate the update there.
Wasn't that Musburger?
Was it Musburger?
Musburger was the creep.
Come on.
Yeah. Musburger was the. Do you remember that with AJ McCarron's girlfriend? He was
yes, exactly. I thought that was Michael. Damn it.
I'm sure Michael's got a little perv in him as well.
Just in post, edit this to make it look like I made the joke and it worked out well.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing that kind of crossed my mind, and I tried to research it and see if anybody was interviewed by it, but new general managers that are taking their first draft class, this is unprecedented because I'm sure they've worked with previous teams. You don't just become a general manager randomly unless you're Mike Mayock. But, do they have an advantage or a leg up or are we just – I mean, everybody just looking at a clusterfuck presentation at this point?
If you're asking me, I think this is going to go – and I want to get into something real quick. I saw a tweet. I don't know if you guys caught this tweet. It made a lot of sense, and I was like, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah from NFL Network made a point that, when all these guys, when they go to these pro days and things like that, and you have all the scouts standing together watching the guy run and catch and do all the bullshit that he does, there is kind of a groupthink mentality. Hey, that guy's pretty good. Hey, that guy's pretty good. Yeah, I agree. That guy's pretty good. Now that you have all these people separated, maybe you're going to start to see some things like, wow, I did not expect that guy to get drafted. Whoa, where'd that come from? You can see a lot more independent thought in terms of the guys getting drafted by certain teams. But I think no matter what, you could draft on the moon if you want. The teams that know how to draft and draft well are still going to draft and draft well. The screw ups are still going to screw up. I think that's just the way it's going to go.
Right. And Spike, I mean, John, I agree with you. But the thing is I guess with the new general manager, I'm not necessarily saying the technology kind of thing, but you did say that we may see some independent thought, John. That could be for better or worse, because other than the combine, they didn't have pro days. They had virtual pro days. Some of them weren't allowed to have pro days. Some of these teams couldn't make pro days or couldn't even figure out the technology to get on for the virtual ones. I mean, I think that's got to set some of the newer. I mean, like you said, some of these guys are seasoned. I'm sure we're not going to have too much issue with maybe the Patriots drafting, but a team like the Bucks who've got to nail this pick, especially with the small window they have. That might be a spot where Jason Light's not a new general manager, but he may be in a spot where he's now behind the 8 ball because he may have missed a pro day or two that the scouts normally would have been to.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a new general manager, an old general manager, the scouting department has to do their job.
Agreed.
And, like I say, the general manager makes the pick, but the scouting department has to do their job. And I understand that they were under, very ridiculous circumstances. But if you have a quality scouting department, they're going to tell the general manager, listen, this is our data. This is what we got out of it. I mean, the pro days are, the guy runs, he catches some balls, he has some one-on-ones with some guys. But a lot of these guys, like the talent level in the NFL is so minute. Like the top level talent is so, it's so at the top, and really comes down to, are you mentally ready for this? That's what really gets these guys, in my opinion. That's what really, you go in, you're a college player. Okay, yeah, I'm a big guy on campus. Okay, now you're a gazillionaire, and you have all these people around you. Everybody's asking for money. You got to buy houses. Can you mentally get yourself prepared to play football? It's more of in my opinion, it's more of a mental thing, and that's something you can't really calculate. That's why you get so many high draft picks that are out to Marcus Russell.
That bum.
These guys. This guy's gonna be the greatest. He's eating a hamburger now.
Spike. Now, with all of that John said, does that put Wonderlic scores maybe more into the forefront now?
Yeah, which
Tua bombed.
If it does, and that's exactly what I was just about to say, is that has to hurt Tua's draft stock. If that's, I think with his injuries, he was already going to be kind of a boomer bust type pick anyway. A high risk, high reward guy.
Right.
So it would just depend on if somebody felt that he was healed enough and he was ready enough to get into the league that they could take a flyer on him and see how he does. I think the Wonderlic scores, the personality, the good citizen type players are going to be the ones that get drafted ahead of maybe the mental cases and the people that have off-field issues that we've seen in the past. I remember when the Patriots drafted Ryan Mallett, everybody, they were like, why are you spending a third-round pick on a quarterback? It's like, well, he was first-round talent, but he's a drunk, so we're going to take a flyer on him and, on the third round and see what happens. And I think those types of guys might even drop further than third round. They might go fourth, fifth, sixth round, even if they were prospective or supposed to be higher level type talent, but without having the pro days, without having the all of the opportunity for people to go in there and see these guys, you wonder if that's really going to hurt their stock. The other thing that I think you brought up a decent point there with the groupthink is, and this is my homerism showing, I wonder how much of this is people copying Bill Belichick. Like if they see the Patriots and Belichick and Josh McDaniels and those guys running around taking notes on a player and writing feverishly and going through, you wonder if that helps that player's draft position because these players could go in and make an impact. And if Belichick wants this guy, then there's got to be something about him that's worth taking, right? So without having that Patriots input on these players, even if it's not intentional input. You wonder if some of these other GMs are going to swing and miss on guys that Belichick would have never even looked at a second time.
Yeah, I think, you make a good point there. But the Patriots have been doing this so long, and Belichick's been doing this so long that you don't know what he's going to – even if you think, oh, I think they're going after this, you know, he'll do – he'll zig when they think he's zagging and all that stuff. I mean, you don't win how many Super Bowls?
6.
Including the Giants, too, which I'm going to bring up in a minute. To think that you have a handle on what he wants, you're just looking for a disastrous outcome. If you think
he might literally have a decoy notebook to throw you off the scent.
Yeah, really.
So, all right, well, let's talk about some quarterbacks. Obviously, we anticipate Joe Burrow is going number 1, so we will skip him. But I ended up picking up from mybookie.ag and also from William Hill some of the quarterback props over under where they'll be taken. So let's go down a few of them. We started with Tua. Let's continue with Tua. Currently on William Hill, he is at over under 3.5, with the over being minus 320, meaning he'll be drafted after the 3rd pick, or the under being plus 260. What are you guys looking at this spot? Like we've talked about, Tua has been the roller coaster ride since November as far as draft stock. Before the season even started, they were talking about him being drafted by the Bengals. And now, Spike, you and I talked about this last podcast, and I'll let you start, Spike. You thought he might even have an Aaron Rodgers-like slide if he doesn't go 1, 5, or 6 or get traded up for it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the problem. Obviously, the trade is going to be the thing that throws the monkey wrench into the people betting the over on this, which is where I firmly would be if I thought the price was right, which I don't think it is. It's minus, 350, did you say?
320, yeah.
320, yeah. Whatever it is, it's not good enough. Because if you think about it, Cincinnati, they're taking Burrow. I think that's pretty much a guarantee. Redskins have, what's his name, that they started and probably ruined the end of last year. And then Detroit still has the Pat Stafford there. So beyond that, you start having to look at the New York's, Miami's, Chargers, and of the world. I don't even know that Chargers probably make the most sense out of the top 6, but if they don't take him, then yeah, I think he falls, and I think he falls hard.
John, you don't see anybody trade if he falls past 5 and 6 with the Dolphins and Chargers. Do you see anybody trying to make that trade? I mean, the Patriots. I mean, they need a quarterback. This could be a spot. I've never seen Bill Belichick trade up that far, but
I don't think so. In terms of the over and under, I'll take the 260 because it's plus 260. I'll just take the odds. I wouldn't lay the 320, but if somebody puts a gun to my head, what are you taking? Give me the odds. Give me the juice.
Yeah,
so I'd take the 260. In terms of where he's going to go, I think you're right. I think that's way too high a price to go number 2. With what is Detroit's 2, right? Washington's 2. I think Washington is gonna take Young, and that's just set. You already have your quarterback there. I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll find out in a couple days. But they already went last year and took Haskins. They don't know what they have in him yet. I don't think they have much, but they've already invested. So
got a new head coach who didn't draft Haskins.
You're right. But, do you want to go? I mean, do you want to go number 2 on a guy coming off an injury?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Haskins
so now somebody would say, hey, we'll go number 2 and we'll take him. Then you got to listen to him.
Right.
So, but I don't see that happening. So I think you may be onto something. I don't think he's going to fall. I mean, in terms of the falling, like Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he's going to fall to 22 or 24, wherever he got drafted by the Packers. But you definitely could see a slide into like the teens, maybe, because I mean, when you look at, what do you want to invest in this guy? I mean, I understand that he's got talent, but he's coming off an injury.
Let me play a scenario out for you guys here. Let's just say that the Bengals draft Chase Young, number 1, and you're the Redskins. What do? You take Joe Burrow and trade Haskins, or do you listen to every single offer? What do you do here?
Yeah, you trade the pick.
How much do you think you can get for that pick to take Joe Burrow?
For Joe Burrow, I think people would give up a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
saw what those same Redskins gave up to move up to number 2 to get RG3.
And the Goff trade when the Rams moved up.
Exactly.
Yep. The Eagles traded 2 number. They had to trade up. I'm in Jersey, so every day we were listening to this on the radio. They had to make they traded the Kiko Alonso to get the 15th pick, and then they traded another pick to get the 8th pick, and then they trade both picks to get the number 2 pick. And I think there was other picks involved in that. So the number 2 pick is a very high commodity.
Especially when that number 2 pick has Joe Burrow. I mean, this is going to be a question. We have a digital draft. We don't know what kind of time. Are we going to go with 15-minute time limit like they've had? I mean, what are we? Or is it down to 10? I mean, with the digital draft, they can get more time. You know, Washington's going to call Goodell and be like, "Pause."
Can we pause this? The pause button isn't working.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's probably crossed Washington's mind that Joe Burrow could be there at 2. And do they have to listen for Joe Burrow, or do they take Joe Burrow and see what somebody will give Dwayne Haskins? We saw Josh Rosen get traded after 1 year in Arizona.
Yeah, what did they get for him? What did they get? Did they get a
second-round pick, I think?
Yeah, it was a pick, yeah.
Yeah, so they had the number 1 pick. They took Kyler Murray, and they traded Rosen for a second-round pick in that draft. That they took Kyler Murray. So, I mean, I don't know. That was just kind of crossing my mind. The reason I said that, just had an article come out on VegasSquares.com, a couple of prop bets that I like. And on William Hill, Joe Burrow is going at 25-1 to be the second overall pick. So I sprinkled a couple of Lincolns on it.
Not bad.
It seems reasonable.
Yeah, why not? Always take the juice. Always take the odds.
So, all right, Justin Herbert, also a guy who has been discussed in the top 5 or 6 picks. His over-under, ironically, is 5.5, 110 each way. He's another guy where the Chargers are sitting 6, the Dolphins are sitting 5. I think based on the odds makers, line at 5.5, they think you've got to decide if he's going to Miami or if he's going to LA.
All right. Here's where I'm going to break out my little wager.
All right.
And I want to give you my background on this wager because I was looking this up and I was like,
You're Justin Herbert's father.
Wasn't he a porn star?
Wait,
was he? That's news to me.
Just making things up.
Now, sounded good.
I know. I once in a while I get a good one off. I am huge fan of Bill Parcells. Huge. I consider him the best coach in history. You don't get a Bill Belichick without a Bill Parcells. Now, every year I do, and if anybody wants to subscribe, I have Talkman Radio on YouTube where I do my fantasy football. Now, every year in fantasy football, you have these rookies coming out, and I go by one criteria. That criteria is Bill Parcells' how to draft a quarterback. There are 7 things that you need to be drafted by Bill Parcells. This is his evaluation of who to draft as a quarterback. Be a 3-year starter, be a senior in college, graduate from college, start 30 games, win 23 games, post a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and complete at least 60% of passes thrown. You can look up how he came to these criteria, which, go ahead, is very interesting. But I'm going to give you all the major guys in this draft.
Well, we know Tony Romo was one.
Tony Romo was one. Joe Burrow, 5 of 7. Tua, 2 of 7. Justin Herbert, 7 of 7. Jacob Eason, 1 of 7. Jordan Love, 5 of 7. Jake Fromm, 5 of 7. Jalen Hurts, 7 of 7. And Anthony Gordon, 4 of 7. The 2 that knock all of them out of the park are Herbert and Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was reading this article called Bill Parcells' Influence Could Impact the Dolphins' Draft Plans for this year. It turns out that, I'll just read it to you real quick. I don't mean to take up a lot of time, but I just want to get to this point. But a wager is going to come out of it. Everything that ties this team back to Bill Parcells at this point in time falls back to one man, General Manager Chris Greer. When Parcells came to the Dolphins, he promoted Greer to director of scouting after previously working with him and his father, Bobby Greer, in New England. It was 2010 when Parcells stepped away from the Dolphins. Now, a decade later, Greer is his second season of total control of the general manager as the general manager of the Dolphins. My proposal, I'm going to say Herbert goes to the Dolphins at 5. And I'm willing to put a 12-ounce sports T-shirt on the line for it. Anybody want to take me up on that?
Well, I thought he was going to go to the Dolphins as well at 5, but just for the sake of degenerate betting,
all right,
I'll take your offer.
All right.
Now, you have only 5, or are you just taking the under 5.5?
If you want to go back to the betting, I'd take the under 5.5.
Right, but for the purposes of our bet, do I get the field versus pick number 5? What if the Dolphins trade up and take him at 3?
I don't think that's.
Or do you have just the Dolphins taking?
The Dolphins are taking that guy.
I'll take the field for a T-shirt. That's fair.
All right.
So what does Aaron owe you if he bricks this?
A T-shirt.
I
want my own T-shirt.
One of us gets a 12-ounce sports T-shirt.
Yes.
Okay. So that's. I was hoping that Aaron would have.
Yeah, I don't want a car. Right?
Well, no, I'm not that.
You ain't getting one. You can ask Justin. You can ask your kid Justin Herbert for that.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd return my call.
There you go. Spike, what do you think on Justin Herbert here?
I mean, everything about it makes sense. I think the Dolphins are probably going to be flipping a coin or a three-headed coin, essentially, between Herbert, Tua, if they want to go that way, and what's his name? Washington, Eason.
God, if Eason's gone at 5, this is going to be catastrophic.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Every year in the draft, we see
Daniel
a
Jones,
quarterback or some kind of skill position player get taken way too early. So this is the kind of thing that kind of screams that to me. If the Dolphins, Brian Flores and the GM, who that entire management team decide they're not going to go with Herbert or they're not going to go with Tua, there's another guy in this draft that they love, that they feel that they can build the team around, and they're going to go for it, even if the pundits and the talking heads like us fucking dopes, even if we consider it a stretch, then they're still going to make the move that they feel is the best for the team.
Well,
we see it every year. It wouldn't surprise me if the Dolphins do it.
True, and the thing is with that, I mean, you have to look at, the Dolphins are picking 5. They've got another first-round pick. I think they can have Eason later. So it's just my philosophy on that. I think they can have Eason later. I think they've got 12 or 13, or they're somewhere in the middle of that first round as well for the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade.
They have 18.
Yeah,
18. Okay, all right, fair enough. I think Eason can most certainly be had at 18. If they make that leap at 5, then just shut the team down for the year. Just AFC East has 3 opponents.
Yeah, really. I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, so this is the most polarizing guy, and I'll be the first to say I am not high on him because out here on the West Coast, I watched probably more Utah State football than the two of you have combined. Just because
it is probably true.
And while I really enjoyed Jordan Love's sophomore season, I thought his junior season he really regressed. And somehow he is the guy, despite all these lack of pro days and the group think's not there anymore, he's the guy shooting up the charts here. Currently, my bookie has his over-under at 19.5 with the over minus 140 and the under plus 120. I'm not a fan of this guy. I got it at William Hill at 120, minus 120 on the over. I've already placed that bet in on the over. I think he's going late first, early second, and I even think those are unfortunate as well.
Yeah, you want to talk about Aaron Jones sitting there. This guy could be sitting there wondering, hey, somebody bring me another Dr. Pepper because nobody's picking me if they were in the studio. But this looks like the kind of thing that they're going to keep going to him sitting there with that face. Is anybody another pick? I'm on board with you. I'm not big on this guy. I mean, I saw one game of his and some highlights. But I looked at his numbers. His numbers are 20 touchdowns, 17 picks. That's 17 mistakes, right
58
there.
completion percentage last year too.
And it was, I can tell you, his completion percentage was like 58% or something.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. 58%. I mean, to be honest with you, and this is just personal opinion, if you're going to draft this guy in the first round, just sign Cam Newton.
Yeah, why not? Jameis Winston, if you want a guy to throw interceptions for you.
Well, I'm just saying, if Cam can get back healthy, at least they like this guy's mobility, Jordan Love, as well. He's got a little bit of Kaepernick, and for some reason, people are saying he's got a little bit of Pat Mahomes. Let's not get ridiculous right now. Yeah.
All right,
let's pump the brakes on that one for a second. But, I mean, he's been projected at 19 to the Raiders, of all people, who have Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota, but they're only signed through this year. But I got to imagine the Raiders are going to do what the Titans did with Mariota and Tannehill. Whoever is the hot hand is going to get the extension. So this guy just makes no sense to me at 19. Another team he's been linked to, Spike, is the Patriots.
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know how I feel about it. Well, I mean, you know how I feel about it because I'm hoping the Patriots go 0-16 this year. The tank for Trevor Train is in full effect.
Well, let's pretend they're going to try to compete.
Yeah, which they probably are because Belichick he's too smart to lose games. So, fucking hell. No, I've heard that too. I can't imagine that a guy like that goes to New England. The completion percentage is too low. The interceptions and mistakes are too high. And let's not forget, it's not just mistakes. It's mistakes in Utah State's conference. This isn't like he's throwing in the fucking SEC that actually has really good, stout defenses. So that has to be a red flag for New England. I can't imagine he goes there.
He had a great sophomore year, which is why a lot of the potential is there. I mean, 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but to regress, you just can't regress, in my opinion, in college football and then come out into the draft.
Well, and the other part of it too is that, these rumors, these linkages and everything else, I mean, you have no idea where these sources are coming from. I saw a headline today that says the Patriots trade up in the draft to get Tua.
That's what I read too. That's why I brought it up earlier.
In what planet does Tua a good New England caliber quarterback? It doesn't make sense to me. So part of it kind of makes me think that the guy is saying that New England's going to go after Tua, New England's going to go after Love, New England's going to, trade all of their picks out of this draft and just own every single pick in next year's draft. Those types of things I think is just clickbait at this point. They're not based in reality. It's just somebody wants to get their name out there on Twitter. Somebody with the blue check mark decides that they want to get a few more followers, a few more links, and a few more clicks for their, big daddy company. And I'm done with it. I'm not paying attention to any of these rumors for New England anymore because let's face it, we can't figure out what the fuck Belichick does during the draft anyway. So it's not like anybody's going to have a clue.
Who's talking to him that's leaking out that's not fired? That's not fired already.
He can't even give a straight answer in a post-game interview. You think he's going to give you fucking insight on the way he's going to draft? Give me a break.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't see this as. I mean, I think you're spot on with that, especially with the New England thing. He gives no information out at all ever. They're going to take a defensive lineman or a linebacker, most likely.
Yeah,
all this love and all the two. That's all bullshit. They're going to, he's going to go defense, and then we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, I mean, the guy Spike and I have been talking about that I like. I don't think he'll be taken in the first round, but I'd like to see the Patriots take him, and we'll move on to him. He has the highest over-under of the quarterbacks that we're going to talk about, and that's Jake Fromm at 72.5. He is my favorite quarterback, not named Joe Burrow, that can be had with little to no pressure. Obviously, you have Tua. I mean, anywhere he goes, he's going to have pressure. Justin Herbert, especially if he gets drafted before Tua, is going to have pressure. Jake Fromm at 72.5, which tells me his under is the first 2 rounds and about the first 9 picks of the third round. I think he goes third round, but I think New England should really take a hard look at this guy. That's just personal bias. But what do we think about Jake Fromm? He's never been really mentioned in the first round. Some mocks have him at the end of the second, but mostly third and beyond. I feel like 72 at 110 either way is a pretty good bet for the over spot.
Yeah, this to me, if New England is serious about taking a quarterback and developing a quarterback in this draft, this seems like the Belichickian move, because this is the perfect spot where New England can trade down out of the first round because they don't have a second round pick this year, gather more picks at the end of the draft or into next year's draft, and then take Jake Fromm sometime in the early to middle second round. And I don't think anybody would bat an eye at that. I think this, to me, screams New England type move. And because of that, I actually have already locked this in on William Hill. I bet the under on that too. Because the more I think about it, the more this makes sense to me that this is the guy that New England's going to take. Even though, again, trying to figure out what's going through the mind of a Bill Belichick, or any Belichick for that matter. Steve Belichick's a fucking mystery for all I know. But these are the kinds of things that you can't predict. But based on what we've seen in the past, New England trading out of the first round and getting somebody probably a little bit too early in the second round, this is New England's bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you never know what New England's going to do, and you can get Jake Fromm basically whenever you feel like getting him. If you think we're getting close to where he's going to go, yeah, we could just. I mean, they have what, 12 picks? They can pick him whenever they feel like picking him, really.
Yeah.
But
they've got a bunch in the third round, too, that they could even bundle and, move around.
Move up,
and
yeah.
What they need to do. And they felt like it.
And they know what they have a system over there. They know what they want.
Oh, yeah.
They know, this guy checks all the boxes. We're going to bring him in. And, they have to do something. You get Stidham and Hoyer. You're going into the season. One of these two guys are going to bring us to not a Super Bowl anymore, but the playoffs at least.
At this point, Belichick would have you believe it's going to be Stidham or Hoyer. But yeah, I think he fits the mold. I mean, he fits the Brady. He's a tall quarterback. He's not incredibly mobile. He fits the Jimmy G mold. I think it's just next man up.
I have a thing, and I've got this from a long time ago watching basketball, and there was a guy for the San Antonio Spurs. His name was Uwe Blab, and I was like, a guy named Uwe Blab, I can't see anybody saying, "Ooh, I want to be like Uwe Blab," and Stidham, I can't see anybody saying, "I want to be a quarterback like Stidham." I just, it's just a thing I'm in. I go by that's why I guess I've really screwed up some fantasy football drafts by going by names. But it's just something about, I can't see myself 5 years from now saying this guy's name is going to be on the tip of my tongue. It's just a gut feeling, and I don't see Stidham doing that. I don't see Stidham being a name that I'm bandering about talking about football. So I would go with Jake Fromm before that.
Yeah, personal bias. I would like to see him drafted by the Patriots, and then the signs that are held up in Gillette Stadium, Jake Fromm, State Farm.
He's already got the sponsorship offer.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So, all right, the last guy I got on the list here is another polarizing, not quite as much as Tua, especially because of Tua more than likely going in the first round. But Jalen Hurts is all over the board as well, from the second round all the way to undrafted. Now, I don't buy the undrafted. Right now, his line is at 62.5, which basically means he's a first or second round pick. I'm on the over. I've already posted that bet at vegassquares.com. I'm thinking he's middle of the third round, in my opinion. I don't know of a lot of teams, unless he's going to try to be this change of pace Taysom Hill guy, which seems to be maybe Sean Payton's onto something at this point. And I don't know if anybody's going to spend our first or a second round pick on him.
Well, I like Hurts, just like I said with the Bill Parcells thing. He clicks all the boxes. That gives him a little bump, in my opinion.
Right.
But he played with, he had a great receiver over there. He had Lamb over there, and you can see he can move out of the pocket. He can create with his legs, and that's I don't want to say that the NFL is moving in that direction, but there's definitely an appetite for it.
Now, John, let me ask you a question. with Bill Parcells kind of thing, you were talking about 30 starts, winning 23.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do you factor in the fact that he was at Alabama for most of those? Or does that not matter?
I think it matters some, but I just go. I'm a data guy. Just give me the numbers.
Oh, it's fine. I respect that for sure, but I just we've seen Alabama quarterbacks. I mean, I don't remember one that panned out, honestly, other than Joe Namath.
Yeah, you're right. Alabama does not have a great resume with quarterbacks, but there's. I look at the intangibles with this guy. He's going to get drafted, and he's going to
absolutely.
He can create. Now, is he NFL ready? I wouldn't go around. I don't think he's going to be like Dak Prescott when he came in. 4th round pick. Everybody around him got hurt. It was a mass unit, and I get in there and blow the world up. Not that he blew he did have Ezekiel Elliott behind him, but he can be that kind of guy. And I think you brought up Taysom Hill. Now, Sean Payton is a great offensive mind. He went out. What he's done with Drew Brees over there is ridiculous. And I think I don't think any coach could go out there and do that. So if you think any coach is going to bring him in and do what Taysom Hill does, I'm a little sketchy on that one. But I think he will. I think you're pretty on point with the what you said, mid-3rd round.
Yeah, I would say somewhere between 3rd and 4th round.
Yeah,
which is way over 62. Yeah, which is and that's the thing. The only thing I could see, and this is just personal opinion, is someone reaching for this guy.
No, I don't think so.
So, and again, we never use the L word in gambling, but it feels like no, I won't use it. But you know what I'm saying. That L word's like the see you next Tuesday of degenerate sports betting. So, all right. Well, a couple of draft props here regarding the quarterbacks, then we'll move on. Player drafted first. You have Herbert at 115, Tua at -105. Both, I'm sorry, -115 and -105. If you had to lay money on that, put a gun to your head.
Well, you got to put. There's no juice here. Everybody's minus, so I'd go with Tua.
I think I'd go Herbert. I think Tua is too polarizing, and I think it takes a special or a certain type of GM to grab him, and I just don't see that before Herbert gets picked at probably number 5 by Miami.
Inside info from Talkman.
But I think Tua has this thing. I mean, he did. I mean, there are you don't know what these guys are thinking.
Sure,
could have, there could be somebody with the biggest hard on for this guy and see something. You know what? We can go up and get this guy. I want to go up and get this guy. Let's go up and get this guy. And it could happen. Crazier shit's happened in the NFL draft than somebody trading up to get Tua.
Oh, that's absolutely correct. But I don't know. Aaron and I talked about this in our last podcast. I think that it takes a special market and a special type of GM and front office to be blunt, draft a black quarterback or a non-white quarterback. And I don't see that happening before Herbert. Just don't.
You mean we have to wait until an NFL team goes to American Samoa to get Tua drafted in the top 3?
Or at least Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah, put a team in Honolulu. Why not?
I mean, without really doing research, you can look right back to last year's draft that Daniel Jones was drafted over Dwayne Haskins, depending on who you believe. I don't have an opinion really on either one of them. I don't think either of them are very good. But the fact of the matter is that the Giants took him at 6, and Dwayne slipped all the way to 15, and Twitter was ablaze, among other places.
Exactly. You don't know what these people are thinking. So, I mean, it's real. I mean, like the draft. I love the draft. I really do, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, that must be Herbert on the phone. Dad, I'm going 5.
Somebody's ears are ringing.
That's professionalism right there.
Dad, I'm going number 5, Dad. I'm going number 5. All right.
Man said it.
Next prop bet. This one might be a little more difficult, but there is some juice. Player drafted first, Jalen Hurts, -170. Jake Fromm, +150. Now, if you subscribe to my theory, Jake Fromm is free money.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's the way. I think that's the way it's going to work out. I really think that's the way it's going to work out. I think you're right about Hurts kind of being that bigger range of second to uh, undraftable versus Fromm, where he's pretty much set in the middle rounds. And I think you're right on point with that. And I'd take the +150 with Fromm. Give it to me all day.
Firstly, I disagree with Jalen Hurts being undraftable. I know that's what the pundits are saying, and I know that's what I said here on the show. But I think it's third, fourth, fifth round for him. I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's not going undrafted. That's for sure.
No.
If we're drafting Michael Sam for social reasons, we're drafting Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, we got to get. Yeah, we had to get the. Where did he go? He went to L.A., right?
Well, St. Louis at the time, yeah.
St. Louis, yeah. There's a huge transgender population over there that they were catering to draft Michael.
All right, Spike, let's move on.
Yes, please.
We don't want the blue check marks all over us.
Really.
Sake,
they'll come after calling all kinds of isms.
Spike, Jalen Hurts or Jake Fromm?
From just like you said, exactly what we talked about. The screams type of player that somebody will trade out of the first round and stretch for early or mid-second and get him there with a little bit of value. And I definitely think he goes before Hurts.
All right, wrapping up the quarterback spot here. One I thought of, I got a couple of names here. Favorite quarterback that you think may go 4th to 7th round or possibly undrafted? I'll start. I think he is a quarterback in college, but I think if and when he is drafted or not drafted, he will not be a quarterback. And I think that's Khalil Tate from Arizona. A little scat back kind of guy. Really reminds me a lot when he ran. I don't know if you guys remember Steve Slayton out of West Virginia. He's not a quarterback. He was a running back. Maybe Pat White would be another example from West Virginia as well. I thought Khalil Tate had a better arm than Pat White, but just watching him play, if you can put him in the Tariq Cohen kind of style, a little running back who can catch balls, I think he might have a pretty decent career, and I think he may go 7th rounder undrafted. What about you guys? You guys got anybody on the radar that you think might have a decent career? I know, Spike. I
don't follow college football, so I know the big names like the Joe Burrows and the Tuas and like those guys of the world, but
well, maybe this topic flamed out then.
Yeah, I'm with Spike on that one. I know the main guys and the main teams. I can't tell you anybody from San Jose, Ohio, transnational, whatever, college, university, whatever. I can't name those guys.
There you go. Did you make that?
Yep.
All right, attaboy. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver class because it is very deep. It's been widely reported that the top 3 wide receivers, consensus I would believe, are Jerry Jeudy of Alabama, Henry Ruggs of Alabama, and CeeDee Lamb of Oklahoma. John, who do you like the most and the least out of those 3 guys?
The 2 Alabama guys. I like Jeudy the best, and I like Ruggs the least.
Okay.
I think there's a certain dynamic, but playing on the same team. Whereas, Jeudy, I think he's more polished.
Agreed.
Than Ruggs. Ruggs has that speed, but there's a ton of guys that have come in, especially first round picks, that have come in with the speed. Now I understand he's a decent player, but his thing is the speed.
Right.
That's why he's going to be drafted in the first round.
Agreed.
There's a ton of guys that have been drafted because of that speed that just didn't work out. Williamson from Minnesota back when they got rid of Randy Moss and they wanted to bring another speed guy in there. They brought him in there. I think he's working at McDonald's now or something like that. Probably has 8 kids.
Cordell Patterson?
No, not his name Williamson. Something Williamson. I can't.
Oh, okay.
His name's outside. I remember, because I remember I was like, should I draft this guy? When my fantasy draft a year later, he's going to be like Randy Moss. When I was young and stupid, and then I was like, you know what? I'll wait on him. I think somebody else drafted him, and then he had 14 catches for 118 yards, and that was the end of him. So
there you go.
I'm a little sketchy on guys who their big thing is speed. I love speed, but I'm a little sketchy on that.
Yeah, actually, I think you nailed my answer straight ahead as well because I am high on Jeudy and still high on Ruggs, but of the 3, the least high on Ruggs. I'm really hoping, this is just for me personally, I'd like to see the Falcons, even though they're not in the market for a wide receiver, I'd love to see the Falcons take Ruggs and have Julio, Ridley, and Ruggs, 3 Alabama guys.
The Alabama set.
Yeah, and especially since Georgia's a huge rival, just watch the 3 Alabama boys run Atlanta Falcon football for the next 10 years. But
you get a lot of people like, we love it.
I'm rooting for them, but God damn it, roll tide, roll tide.
You see a lot of those faces.
Yeah, a couple of guys I like outside of those 3. Justin Jefferson is phenomenal. I've seen him firsthand in the Fiesta Bowl put up 4 touchdowns in a game against UCF and just make really, really difficult catches in the corners look mundane, in my opinion. I mean, I know that I'm basing a lot of it on one game, watching him live. I mean, obviously we saw LSU season and how good he was, but something different about watching somebody live and having them perform at an NFL caliber level. I think he's going to be really good. I got a prop bet on him that I don't feel great about on VegasSquares.com. I have him going over 21.5, which sucks because I really think 21 he's going to be taken at 21 by Philadelphia, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping the Eagles screw that up somehow.
Well, Philly's taking a wide receiver. Like I said, I'm sitting around here. All I got is Eagles around me.
Yeah.
They're going wide. If they don't go wide receiver, the whole city will explode.
Well, let's hope they take T. Higgins because I like T. Higgins as well. And I like to see T. Higgins be taken, Jefferson be taken after the 21st pick. But, that's just a bet I have going on. But T. Higgins is another one I like outside of that top 3. Clemson guy. Really struggled this year because Trevor Lawrence struggled a little bit, wasn't able to get him the ball. But toward the end, especially in the game against Ohio State, he was real big, making big catches. A couple guys that won't go in day one. For me, Laviska Shenault out of Colorado, probably would have been a first-round pick if he could stay on the field. He's like Tua. He had a lot of injuries. Really, really concerning for a kid who's 21, 22 years old to be injury-prone already going into the NFL. And then I always like tall receivers, so Claypool out of Notre Dame, the guy's 6'5". I don't know much about him, but I like 6'5" receivers. I mean, I'm a Randy Moss guy, so give me anybody who's 6'5" and above, and I'll take a shot with that, especially the 4 verticals, the Madden play.
Yep. Randy Moss. Speaking of Randy Moss, he was my he was drafted, what was it, 97?
98, yeah.
98. In my fantasy league, I remember we were doing it in a basement back then. The guy's mom's basement. Since then, he's bought a house, and now we have a really nice place to do our draft. But
still in the basement, though.
Yeah, I'm the only one in the basement. Everybody else is upstairs. But I remember that Jake Reed was the other guy, and he went, and then I think I got Randy Moss in like the 12th round or something like that, and the rest is history. But,
you think? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. In terms of the wide receivers, they're in the top 3. I'm not a big T. Higgins guy. I think he's good, but he's the kind of guy that looks like. And a lot of these guys need to go to the right place. Very few guys. I think Judy's one of them, and I think Lamb is. But when you start getting into the next round, there's going to be guys who pop. But a lot of these guys, it really depends on where they go, what kind of offense they go into.
Oh, of course, 100% agreed. I think a guy like T. Higgins would thrive in Dallas. On the other side of Amari Cooper.
How many wide receivers are they going to have in Dallas?
They lost a few.
They lost
Randall Cobb.
But
I mean, can you imagine Cooper, Gallup, and T. Higgins? I mean, that's
Dak Prescott to throw the ball now.
Dak Prescott has no more excuses. He got a good offensive line.
Well, he led the league in passing last year. Yeah. Didn't win any game. Didn't win as many games they wanted to, but he threw the ball around.
Well, this is a show me year for him. Spike, what's up?
Oh, I was going to say, just in general, like I obviously don't know these receivers as well as you guys do, but I think there's something to be said about just going after tall receivers. We're seeing more and more of these corners and safeties that are going at like 5'11", maybe 6 foot flat. And, these receivers that are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" can get over these, the shorter corners, so to speak. I say that as somebody who's 5'4", calling a guy that's 5'11" short. But they can get in there and get over these guys and make catches that even if the ball isn't perfectly thrown, I think you can see them really kind of make up for some of the shortcomings of these quarterbacks if they're not completely accurate.
Just look at Julio Jones, how he's made Matt Ryan look good for 10 years.
Exactly. So I think that's definitely something that you can look at. And, if that's assuming, of course, that, the brain talks to the hands the right way and the hands can actually make the catch. Like, height isn't everything. These guys actually have to be able to make the catch. But I'm looking at a chart here that has, out of the top 10, T. Higgins is the tallest of those quarterbacks. For me, I'd be looking at him pretty heavily and trying to gobble him up for whatever team, if I were on or running in the draft. That's the type of player I would look.
And especially since how much these freaking offensive coordinators salivate over the goal line fade. Why are you not finding 6'6", 6'7" receivers to throw goal line fades to?
Yeah.
I mean, Randy Moss could do it with ease. Julio Jones is another guy who's super tall. I mean, he's not the be-all, end-all as far as height being the only thing, like you said, Spike. But I've watched enough Clemson football. T. Higgins is a pretty solid receiver. They're all good. All these five. Justin Jefferson's going to be fantastic too. So draft prop here, John. CeeDee Lamb at plus 110 or Jerry Jeudy at minus 130 to be drafted first.
I like Judy. I like Judy, and I like him. I don't think. I mean, I think there are two teams that are taking wide receivers. Number one, just count it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I really think this. The Raiders, after that debacle last year with Antonio Brown, and now you're leaning on Terrell Williams. That didn't work. So well, that worked out.
No, you're leaning on that tight end. What was his name?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm talking about
on the outside. Yeah, you got Hunter Renfrow. You're way good.
I know. I love that guy. I picked him up late in the season. I ended up with like 3 wins, but didn't really help. But I picked him up.
Yeah.
But I like Judy to go before him, and I think if somebody doesn't take him before 12, he's going to the Raiders.
Yeah, I think Judy's the pick there, even at minus 130. You're right. CeeDee Lamb, something about Oklahoma wide receivers. I don't know if it's just a stigma. I mean, they don't really work out too well in the NFL, but he seems to be primed to debunk that myth. But I would go with Jerry Jeudy. I'd pay the 130 in that spot. So, all right, running backs as well. We've got 3 running backs who are probably going in the first 2 days. Everybody else is kind of a mystery. I think the best 3 running backs in this class are DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, and Jonathan Taylor. John, who do you like best out of those 3 guys?
I kind of like Swift. Wisconsin has, I mean, they kind of have a history of just running the tread off the tires of their running backs. And once they get to the NFL, after being top picks like the Ron Danes of the world and some of the other guys,
Melvin Gordon,
yeah, they just don't have that oomph when they get there. They can't. I mean, Wisconsin's just they're a running team. They've always been a running team, and I'm not big on Wisconsin running backs. So,
I mean, Spike, you could argue James White's the best Wisconsin running back in the last 20 years.
I mean, he certainly looked like it with the Patriots, but that's certainly something that I think some people would debate you on with what's the name? The guy that set all the records before James White set all the records at Wisconsin.
Monty Ball?
There you go.
That guy.
Yeah, where's he at? Exactly.
Yeah.
Him and Jamarcus Russell are they're flipping pizzas.
He was Denver Bronco for a little bit?
I got a nightmare story about that freaking guy.
Well, care to share?
All right, fine. So I had the 7th pick in this draft, and it was me and my buddy doing the draft, and we're going with a running back. We really like this guy Monty Ball because he's playing in Denver, and they're just he's going to be a number 1 running back because they're playing in Denver. So we were going over a draft sheet, and if you remember the year that he was supposed to be the guy, he was the last. He finally came to play the last preseason game. They gave him the ball the first 6 times in the last preseason game that he would play, and I was like, all right, we're bumping him up. I moved him ahead of a guy named Murray. What the hell's his name? DeMarcus Murray?
Yeah, DeMarco Murray, yeah.
DeMarco Murray.
Las Vegas product.
I moved him one spot up. So we go to the draft, and we're hanging out. We're having a beer. I'm like, we got this pick. Don't worry about it. We pick the guy. I say, you know what? I'm getting up. I'm having a cigarette. I'm going outside. The guy who picks next to me was sitting next to my buddy. He just came in from work. He just bought his book. He was looking through his book. He turns to my buddy and says, who do I pick? He says, well, John has DeMarco Murray. He picks DeMarco Murray. Monty Ball ends up on the bench and dropped. DeMarco Murray leads the league in rushing with 1,600 yards, 15 touchdowns, wins the guy the championship, and I'm a jerk off.
Keep your notes encrypted next time.
That's what I told him.
Moral of the story. Yeah, the running backs. I mean, we all know the trend of running backs. Everybody has a different opinion. They're a dime a dozen. You run them into the ground for 5 years and then throw them in the heap. Taking first-round running backs is always a gamble. I don't see any of these guys going first round except for DeAndre Swift. The only real team I could see with a glaring hole at running back is the Chiefs, the Super Bowl champs. And they pick last. So if anybody is going to take a running back, my guess would be it's them. They have been linked to DeAndre Smith, but my personal favorite running back of the three of them is J.K. Dobbins. I just like the way he runs. I think he needs to work a little bit on the catching out of the backfield. If you guys watched that Fiesta Bowl, he had a very critical drop that would have sent Ohio State to go get their ass kicked by LSU instead of Clemson. But if he can shore that up, the guy's shifty, the guy's fast, the guy's north-south. He's my favorite running back out of the three, but that's not a knock to either of the other two. Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion, John, is a very hard-nosed runner. You're right. Wisconsin running backs, caveat emptor. But the thing that really turned me off to him, and we call him Jonathan Taylor turnover in college football circles, he had 15 turnovers. Yeah, so that's not going to do it at the next level. You have 2 or 3, and you're probably turning into Monty Ball 2.0.
Yep. I totally agree. And you're right. No more. You're not going to see Emmitt Smith careers anymore. You come in, you get drafted, you play there for 8-9 years. I think those days are over. Guys aren't taking running backs in the first round anymore. And the ones that are being taken in the first round, they have a shelf life of, 3, 4, 5 years? Todd Gurley out.
They're getting
out.
Yeah, they're getting paid early because they're getting the value during their – look, Christian McCaffrey just got paid. Everybody's saying, well, that was a year too early. Well, give the guy his ransom at $16 million, especially with the salary cap expected to increase. $16 million might look like a bargain in 2 years, and he might be done in 4. We don't know, especially the pounding that we anticipate Christian McCaffrey is going to take over the next 4 years, because they're not going to be a very good team, and they're going to be relying on him to, I guess, stay in games or not make their draft position any higher than it is this year.
Yeah, and they don't have a quarterback, a top-tier quarterback to give all the money to, so you can give it to a guy like that. So you don't have a $30 million quarterback to give the money to.
Correct. Although I think Teddy Bridgewater might outperform his contract this year. It'd be interesting to see. He's probably one under the most microscope because he is very similar to Cam Newton. And although Cam Newton is probably damaged goods, if Teddy Bridgewater does not perform up to Panthers' expectations, they're going to be wondering why we flipped Cam for Teddy Bridgewater at that point. But yeah, DeAndre Swift does seem like the best, most polished running back. He carried Georgia a lot this year, him and Jake Fromm. I see the Chiefs being linked to him. And my hope is that Dobbins I have a bet with him as well regarding Dobbins versus Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I have Dobbins going first over Edwards-Helaire I paid a little juice on that at -150. And I'm hoping I see a couple pockets for him in Miami and LA, both the Chargers and the Rams, maybe early in the second round for both of those teams. So I'm hoping he goes early second round so I can win that bet as well.
Good luck.
So, all right. Then, John, I'll ask you this question. This is a random running back draft prop here. It's we talked about DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor. You're getting juice on Jonathan Taylor as the player drafted first at +150. or you got to pay 170 for DeAndre Swift. What are you looking at that?
I'll take the juice. It's too close to call to go one way or another. So yeah, you got to take the juice on that. I mean, personally, I'll take DeAndre Swift, and I'm turning this off.
Now you're turning it off?
Now I'm turning it off. I thought this thing rings. It doesn't matter if I turn it off or not. It rings. It sends me in. It punches me in the head. This stupid phone. I got to get rid of it. But in terms of Jonathan Swift, in terms of Jonathan Taylor, I think Swift's going to go first. But I'll just take the juice on that. I think people are on board with the whole Wisconsin thing. They've seen this. I mean, they've seen this story over and over again that these guys just don't work out. So I'm going to go with I'll take the juice, but I'm not putting a lot of money on it.
Yeah, I agree with you with the Wisconsin running backs. But Spikes, if Jonathan Taylor's anything like he was in college, whoever passes on him is going to be disappointed. Kid's really good as long as he can hold on to the football. Remember Tiki Barber a long time ago? Couldn't hold on to the football. Who was it? Was it Coughlin that told him to flip the ball when he holds it? Because he used to hold it.
Walk around with the ball for like the whole year. He had to have the ball. When he was having dinner, he had to have the ball. Like, he made him do it because they're like, we're sick of this shit.
But he used to carry it like a traditional running back. But then I think at one point in his career under Coughlin, he carried it vertically. And that's the way he carried the football. And his turnover rate, which is
really,
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's something that is Coughlin still in Jacksonville, or did he get fired?
I think he's still there. He might.
Maybe Jacksonville trades Fournette, which they're looking to do, and drafts Jonathan Taylor and teaches him how to hold a football. All right, we'll finish up here with a couple of random draft props. Spike, I know you don't have a ton of knowledge of college players, so you're just going to throw out whatever bet you feel, all right? All right, so the first one, this is the one I also have in my prop arsenal at vegassquares.com, and I'm curious about this one. Most picks in round one, the field is minus 155 versus the SEC at plus 135.
Ooh.
All the mocks I have been reading, which I've been on a mock draft plethora the last 3 days, have SEC players, the number of SEC players in the first round, anywhere between 13 and 17. Which obviously makes for 15.
Yeah, there's 32 picks in the draft. I think you're going to go with the fields.
I picked the field, yeah.
Yeah, I think even though there are clearly a ton of very good players coming out of the SEC this year, I think there's just enough doubt out there for me to think that the field has to take it, because there's going to be people that will say, this is SEC hype. The SEC is not as good as the other divisions, even though they have, the top of the cream of the crop of the SEC is better than a lot of the other conferences just in general. But I think a lot of the rest of the SEC isn't that good. So I think that there's plenty of other talent out there from the Big 10, Big 12.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like I said in the beginning, with you not being able to, the scouts not being able to go and see these guys, and it's a very different draft, I think you're going to have some guys out there that say, you know what, I really have a good feeling about these guys from maybe some of these smaller schools, maybe later in the first round, or some places outside of the SEC that they think they can get value at.
Yeah, because if you're picking in the 20s or 30s, you don't have a ton of holes on your team. Exactly. So you may have the ability to take some shots, I guess, in that spot with non-SEC players. And like you said, with the groupthink of the SEC is the best, without that groupthink, maybe, like you said, guys have been able to scout who they want to scout on their own terms and own time. So that may change something. So, yeah, you're talking about having to get 17 players, because if there's 32 picks in the draft and 16 SEC guys are taken, you have to get 16 picks. So you're basically have to get the first, you have to get half the first round. That's, even for a conference as powerful as that, that's still tough to do.
Yeah, that's a big one.
All right, so two guys who have been bouncing around the top 10 here. They have a first picked prop with them as well. Jeff Okudah, the cornerback out of Ohio State, who's been linked to the Dolphins, been linked to the Lions, been linked to a lot of teams in the top 10, versus Isaiah Simmons, who's been really hard linked to the Giants. Okudah is minus 160. Simmons is plus 140. You got to think that if Okudah doesn't go 3, that Simmons at 140 feels like value here. But like you said, the draft is a funny girl.
I'd go Simmons all day. There's a thing about cornerbacks getting drafted really, really high. There's only, if you can go back through history, how many cornerbacks have been drafted really high that, okay, we know this guy is going to be a game changer? Patrick Peterson,
Champ Bailey,
Deion Sanders. Okudah, is he that guy? I don't know. I'd go big on Simmons on this one.
It's fair. And I don't see anybody trading up Spike to get Okudah. So if the Lions really don't take him, which every mock draft I've seen pretty much has them locked in on Okudah or trading out, which, I don't know. I know Patricia's a defensive guy, but, they've got even after trading Darius Slay, I don't know if cornerback's still a need for them.
Yeah, I think cornerbacks are one of those things where you have to be 100% absolutely sure to take them so early in the first round, just like what Jonathan was saying here. It's just I'm not comfortable enough saying that a corner would go that early, so I think you're going to go the other way.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm trying to think of guys who were drafted in the first round. Quentin Jammer, I remember, went to the Chargers a long time ago. He was average. He wasn't a great cornerback. But you're right, Patrick Peterson. I don't remember when Darrelle Revis was drafted.
What about Clinton Dix? Was he a first-rounder?
Yeah, but he's a safety.
He's safety. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was late first round, but he was also a safety.
Late first round?
Yeah, he was drafted by the Packers, I want to say.
You can name the guys because you remember they always have like a whole bunch of they always have a whole bunch of hype around them. Oh, this guy's gonna go, and whenever in the top 5, they always seem to have that little extra like incentive, light on them. Like I said, like the Patrick Petersons and things like that. The guys who don't work out, you kind of never hear from them again. The guy he got picked by the Cowboys long time ago. He's still playing though.
Morris Claiborne.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, he got picked really high.
I remember that. There was so much hype on Morris Claiborne coming out, and he didn't necessarily live. But you're right, he's still in the league.
He's still in the league, yeah.
A couple of the Johnny Manziel draft, the Browns drafted Jason Verrett or whatever. I can't remember. They drafted a cornerback with him. They drafted Denzel Ward either last year or 2 years ago. He hasn't been bad, but you're right. Spending a pick on that, especially with the rules in today's game, there's only so much a cornerback can do. Like Spike knows, I say the game's won in the trenches. Offensive line, defensive line, quarterback, right there.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So this was my favorite one. This is the last one before we wrap it up here. Go ahead.
I will say, before we wrap up, I'm going to have you guys pick a parlay for me, but I'm not going to tell you what sport it is until after you pick it. So,
okay, fair enough.
We'll do that after this pick.
All right. Mr. Irrelevant will be a
kicker.
Tight end.
Oh.
All right. I'll say lineman, offensive.
All
right. They have varying different odds for each of those. The favorite is a quarterback, all the way to the least favorite is a kicker punter.
Yeah, okay.
So there you go. Spike, you can go splash some money on the kicker punter.
May as well.
Yeah. So, all right, let's pick this parlay before we wrap it up.
All right, so you have a choice. First one is between London and Atlanta. That's all the information I'm giving you. London or Atlanta?
I'll take London. John, you can pick the next
Atlanta.
one.
I can't go with those limeys.
All right, I'm going to take London as well. All right. Next one is Seattle or Los Angeles?
John, you can pick that one.
I can't stand Starbucks. I'm a Dunkin' Donuts guy. I'll take LA.
All right. Dallas or a different Los Angeles?
Dallas.
Sure, Dallas.
All right. Chicago or New York?
New York.
New York.
All right. So in
Racquetball League, isn't that what we're playing?
Call of Duty 5-on-5 League, which is not showing up here. It is the London Royal Ravens. We took them over the Atlanta FaZe. London going at plus 330. The LA Gorillas over the Seattle Surge. LA is at plus 125.
Is that standard spelling gorillas or is it G-U?
Yeah, the Guerrillas.
The Gorillas. Is there a Z on the end?
No.
Oh.
Dallas Empire over Optic Gaming Los Angeles. Dallas is at minus 190, so it's the only favorite on this parlay that we've taken, by the way.
Right.
I love it.
And the New York Subliners at plus 250, taking over the Chicago Huntsmen at minus 320. So let's see. This four-legger is going to pay. It's $12.67 to 25. I'm going to throw.
Was that 4 or 5?
That's a 4-teamer.
Okay.
So my 450 bet will win $232.60 if this comes in. So.
All right, ship the sherbet to Justin Herbert's dad. All right,
Nice.
well, we appreciate you guys listening / watching us. This is only our second video podcast, and
Yes.
you can catch all our podcasts at vegassquares.com underneath the podcast tab. I want to thank 12 Ounce Sports Radio for airing all of our dribble whenever we put that dribble out. Also, want to thank Seat Giant, promo code 12 Ounce Sports for your discounted sporting event, concert, and theater tickets whenever those come back into play. Also, want to make sure that you guys follow John and his Talkman Radio show. John, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Facebook, Talkman Radio on Facebook. You can find me on 12 Out Sports, of course, every Friday at 6 o'clock Eastern. And on Twitter, Talkman Radio on Twitter. We're like I said, I'm an old guy. I'm not into the whole TikTok and Instagram and whatever the girls are getting naked on. Nobody's watching me naked.
You're not on the Pornhub?
Not right now. We gotta get done with this first.
That's fair. All right. Well, for Spike, I am Aaron. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We will catch you on the next one.